John and Sean here, and the UFC is celebrating the 20th anniversary with historic 20 days to UFC 167, beginning Monday, October 28th in Denver, the site of the first UFC, UFC 1, and concluding November 16th in Las Vegas. The UFC is going to be going around to 24 cities for press tours, and it's the reason we get to be joined in studio right now by UFC Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Forrest Griffin. I know you fought in Philly. Was that the last time you were here, Forrest?
You go right there.
No,
you go right there.
I actually didn't fight in Philly. Now that you mention it,
it was a rough one, but I was reading up on you a little bit the last night this morning. Well, and the first thing I want to ask you, I mean, you got injuries, man. You're a warrior. You were kicking ass, and
not at all a warrior. Those guys get shot at.
Okay,
I got a referee and all that stuff.
Well,
I used to fight pretty hard. You know when the coach says tough it out. Well, screw him. That's a bad idea. Don't tough it out. Didn't work out for me. I toughed it out. Well, oh well.
All right. So the first thing it said was you got your arm busted in a fight, but you went on to win the fight, and it said to look for a big lump on your left forearm.
It went away, more or less.
It's gone?
You never watched the first season of the show. It was huge back then.
Yeah.
First season of the Ultimate Fighter.
It was huge back then.
Yeah, well,
it's gotten so small.
They've come a long way, but that was one of the more, just one of the better fights anybody's ever seen as far as MMA is concerned, or whatever you want to throw out there. Blood was everywhere. I mean, and especially that
Blood
season.
helps.
That season was amazing.
I thought so.
Yeah, there was some bad.
First.
Are you watching this season with Ronda Rousey?
I am. I read a review of it.
My co-host over there, John Marks, isn't big on the female fighters. I told him
it's turning the corner. I wasn't big on it either. Let
me tell you what I think.
One thing I don't like, I don't care what you think. I'm here to talk about what you think.
Well, if you're chicken, then I'm going to slay you with my verbal defecation, and that's fine.
Wow, that's...
All right? No, but let me say this about the female fighting.
Is that radio appropriate?
Yes. Well,
not really, but we're going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
But tell me, as far as, I'll watch the female UFC stuff, but I'm not tuning in. I'll watch a college football game. I'm not tuning in to watch two chicks fight. I'm watching football. I'm watching something else.
Here's the thing. My problem was I don't like it when women make the mean face. They're chewing on Lemon's face and look at each other, because I've never truly believed they could back it up. And then the other thing was the fights would just get sloppy, and it wouldn't be like skill. It would remind me of like UFC 5. But now it's gotten to the point where the women have the skill to back the stupid look up. So now when they're mean mugging, that's actually a bad broad. And I'm telling you, man, there's a couple women out there that can beat you up.
I agree.
You ever get punched by a chick?
A couple times, but it was when I was a bouncer at a bar.
Right, my ex-girlfriend popped me in the lip, split it right down the middle.
Did you foul? Did you put some papers on that?
No, thank God the cops didn't come. She would have went to jail, and I would have felt bad. We're lucky to have Forrest Griffin here because we're celebrating.
Just remember how lucky you are.
We're lucky, man. We're celebrating 20 years of the UFC, and I know there's a big documentary that's coming out, Fighting for a Generation, 20 years of the UFC.
November 5th, I believe.
You remember that?
1, 9 p.m.
I can't wait to see it. Are you prominently
I have never seen it. The last guy we talked to had seen it. He'd really done his homework. But, he was a morning guy, so that's probably... Let's take that next step, He was the kind of guy that does his homework.
Tell you what.
You got to quit for everything.
Yes.
I love it. Now, you actually, before you were a fighter, before you were on that the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, you were a law enforcement officer.
I was. Not much of one, but I was.
Now, you worked for the sheriff department in Georgia.
Augusta, Georgia, baby.
How was that? Did you like that job? Obviously, you like being a fighter a lot better.
I like the idea of it a lot more than I like writing rec reports. There was a lot of, showing up and people are angry at you and you're like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, well, all my stuff's stolen. And you're like, well, look, I'm going to help you. And I would try, this was like my second day on the job, at a training. I'd go in the guy's trailer, his stuff's stolen. I say, look, sir, I'm going to write a report so you can get the insurance money. He's like, man, I live in a blah, blah, blah trailer. You think I got insurance? And I was like, that's a good point. And I said, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put this report in, and then we're going to schedule our patrols to where this area gets patrolled at that time. I was really thinking, trying to be the good cop. And it was like, man, I already lost everything. What do I care if you patrol my empty trailer? And I was like, also a good point.
So after 3 weeks, you were like, whatever.
After 3 weeks, I was a jerk like every other cop. Because people are mean.
I watch a lot of cops on TV. I'm sure it's a lot like that. I mean, there's a meth problem everywhere cops goes, right?
I was kind of the very early stages of meth. Like, I didn't really know what it was. There would be like
It
houses.
wasn't shishi or in vogue.
No. We were still with crack, old school crack.
No bath salts, obviously, at the time.
No, none of that.
What's up with you and crack? I heard you were yelling about crack earlier.
I love crack. I've never done it, but I just feel bad for crack. You know, crack really gets. Meth is really taking crack's.
Stole its thunder.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad about that.
So let me get this straight.
All crack has going for it is it was prominently featured on The Wire.
New Jack City as well, right? Cash Money Brothers.
Hey, 90s, baby.
Yeah, right.
Crack's heyday, the 1990s.
So we got a bouncer. You were a law enforcement officer. And
well, every wannabe UFC fighter ends up doing bouncing and personal security.
Well, all right. Besides, how did you get
knock people out?
How did you get on the show? First season, Ultimate Fighter. How did you get on that show?
It's a long story. No, I was
Cliff
actually
notes.
a cop.
Cliff
I'd
notes.
given up on fighting. I got a call out of the blue from Joe Silva. He said, you know, you were going to fight for me a year ago, but you broke your arm. And that was like the third big injury in like 3 years, so I gave up. Graduated college. I was so bored. Got a job. Was working. They're like, hey, some guy dropped out. Do you want to be a last-minute replacement on this show? I'd never seen a reality show. And they're like, well, it's kind of like the real world, but for fighters. And I was like, well, that means nothing to me. I've never seen that. So I went and did it. Why not?
That's how he described it. It's the real world, but with fighters.
This is a producer now. This is a producer. And then when we got on the show, he didn't know anything about fighting either. They had the food stocked with, like, the fridge was like it was like Diet Cokes and bonbons.
Yeah.
It was like the stuff, like, it was literally like, I was like, dude, what are you doing? We're like professional athletes. You got the fridge filled with like college sorority girl food. And it's like, no, this is what everybody on reality shows eats. I was like, no, this is what college sorority girls eat.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Freshman 10.
Forrest Griffin is with us, and UFC Hall of Famer, and 20 years of UFC. It's amazing that it's been that long. And it all culminates with UFC 167, St. Pierre against Hendricks.
We'll be there.
Live from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And that's on Saturday, November 16th on pay-per-view, UFC TV, 10 p.m. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com. We saw... we were
Spider Silva and Weidman.
Trying to clown Weidman because he knew he was in trouble, and we were there. He got his ass knocked out. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, you know, he just kept pushing that envelope further and further.
He did the same thing with you here in Philly.
He didn't do it as much with me, but he kept getting away with it and doing it more and more and more, you know. And then, like, the thing is like when he did it in the beginning, he would throw something back. Mm-hmm. He would clown and then he would throw something back. Like, he forgot the throw something back part. The whole point of clowning is not to disrespect your opponent. It's to get your opponent to overcommit, to drop their guard, to throw heavy, hard, and slow, and then you sit in there and you pick them out. Pop, pop. Worked pretty well against me.
I just got the feeling that Silva wasn't all that interested. He's been doing it for that long. He's been beating up people fight after fight after fight. It just seemed like he wanted something new.
That's what a lot of people said after the fight.
Well, let me ask you about this one with this rematch. What do you think? Now everybody's starting to throw this old cliche. Well, now he's focused. You know, now he just lost. Now he's going to be focused. And a couple months of hardcore training with this top-notch focus, there's no way Spider Silva could lose.
Well, I mean, it's called wrestling. That kid can wrestle. Anderson can't. I was surprised they knocked him out the way he did, but, I certainly thought Weidman had the chance to win. And I still do. I don't think he'll knock him out again. Maybe TK him on the ground, but I think he'll, I mean, if you think about it, the guy tried to heel hook him. He had a good takedown. I think if he gets on top, and he's got very heavy hands, Weidman does. So I think his strategy is get on top, ground and pound.
Where were you at in that fight? Were you pulling for Silva or were you pulling for Weidman? Does the country play come into it at all? Because when we were out there, I mean, it was heavy.
For me.
It was heavy. I mean, just Brazil flags everywhere. Do you look at a USA fighter and say, you know what, I want that guy to win? Or do you look at Spider Silva and say, he's just one of the best champions of all time?
I go by what I know of the person, like just that 5 or 10 minutes I meet them. The same way fans judge anybody they meet. You get one opportunity. I'm the same way. I'm no different, I met Anderson down when I was busy getting knocked out by Shogun. Him and his guys were actually real good to me as far as helping me, like, get to the grocery store, talk to people, order food. And, ever since then, I've been an Anderson fan. Because him and his man, he was like, hell, you need something on my friend, I get you, I help you. And, then he did, though. He didn't just say, like, whatever. And then a car showed up and was like, hey, Anderson, come pick you up. I was like, yeah, you're American. He's like, yeah, I speak Portuguese. I was like, okay.
Forrest Griffin, you have quite a personality there. You're busting stones. You're walking down the hall. We're getting ready to do this interview. You're kind of gimping around a little bit, being that you tore your MCL. You have shoulder injury, busted arm. Seems like everything else.
I'm a horrible person, and I've paid for it miserably.
Have you?
I have this coming, you know. Everybody gets what they have coming in the end. I guess I was a real jerk.
You ever get tased when you were a cop before? There was no
now
taser.
that you mention that, well, everybody gets sprayed, you know, but
right.
One dummy has to volunteer to get tased, and it was me, you know. I was big and muscular and 21 years old, and I did jiu-jitsu, and I was like, hey, I'll get tased. And they gave me half a tase, and I don't remember what it's like. They say the body can't remember pain, hence women having more than one child. But I just remember thinking, my life's goal is to do whatever it takes for that not to happen again. And so, like, when I see people walk through tasing, I'm like, wow, that guy must be on a lot of drugs.
A lot of drugs. No, you said it. Now, we're obviously, John and Sean, we're on a sports station. We talk a little bit of UFC, but generally being in Philadelphia, we talk a lot of Eagles.
Not women's UFC, though. We don't talk about that here.
No, I just complain about it.
Yeah.
But
that's good enough.
I told him to come around.
Trust me, the women are just complaining about you, too.
That's fine with me. Are you a football fan? Like, what's the four major sports, the team sports? What do you follow the most?
Football and basketball playoffs, and some college football. But by now, all my college teams suck already. So I still got Denver. I still got the Broncos.
University of Georgia fan?
Afraid so. Yeah.
They had a big loss the other week against.
Big loss every week.
Was it
I'm used to it. We're used to it.
Yeah.
We're both UJ grads over here.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we're used to.
Anytime you got to go up against Alabama, you could just go ahead.
What they like to do is they like to really build it up in the preseason and be pretty good and get a lot of the top recruits. And then about, fifth or sixth game of the season, they really just like that.
We're joined by Forrest Griffin, and I know you're doing a lot of stuff involved. You're a new awareness campaign. You're like an ambassador for surrounding
Don't
HIV.
Get AIDS or get tested and then quit having sex with people.
We're about the same
Unprotected
age.
sex. Unprotected sex.
If you have HIV,
yeah.
sex altogether.
Well, yeah.
But you can go to websites where other people have HIV and just.
As a matter of fact, there's a Craigslist room that you can, it's got mail.
Is there?
Yeah.
HIV positive.
Yeah, they got all.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a positive place.
We're both about the same age, mid 30s, right? And
sure.
when we were growing up, it became the big message that you needed to get out there. I mean, I remember.
Well, you know what's funny, but then it kind of died out.
It died out.
We forgot about AIDS. And
Yeah.
then it became like, oh, well, I live in the suburbs, I might get herpes, but nobody gets AIDS anymore.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it was a thing where it was like first it was considered, like gay men gave it to each other, and then it became really mainstream in a lot of communities, and there was so much misinformation about it to where people thought you could get it by shaking hands or by on a doorknob. Then it became, well, it can only be transmitted through blood or through semen or something like that, and it really fell off the table. But now you see the numbers; people are still getting AIDS and still getting HIV.
And they're just living longer with it, And then it's like, let Tommy Morrison be an example. It's still real and it will still kill you. Yeah.
Forrest, we're heading out there again for the next fight versus Hendricks and St. Pierre. Any initial thoughts? Any initial thoughts going into that fight? Who do you think is going to come out?
I mean, I can tell you some good restaurants.
Well,
while you're in Vegas.
I love Vegas. Yeah, I frequent Vegas quite often. But as far as GSP is concerned, is it going to be a normal GSP fight? Ground and pound, he's going to win a decision.
I don't know that he can take Hendricks down, and I think. No, I don't think it's going to be a ground and pound. I think if he's smart, he'll jab and run. That's what I would do if I was fighting Johnny Hendricks. I mean, he's got a cannon, and he's got a big left hand, and he's got great wrestling.
Well, the 2 dates to remember: November 5th, Fox Sports 1, the documentary "Fighting for a Generation," 20 years of the UFC, and then the big pay-per-view. St. Pierre, Hendricks live from the MGM Grand. That's Saturday, November 16th. We're going to be there, but tickets, if you're going out there, available at Ticketmaster.com.
We were just talking, Rashad and Chael are fighting on that, right? I'm actually interested in to see that fight. I still kind of follow vaguely the 205 division, and then I think that's a tough fight for Chael. I think Rashad's...
Chael, am I wrong for saying that he doesn't do it for me? And I've had enough of him.
Hey.
I just had enough of him. Why does this guy he consistently gets fights when he doesn't win? Let me ask you that. I mean, it seems like...
I'm going to tell you why.
Why?
You ready?
Because he runs his yap.
Because we're talking about him right now.
Exactly.
That's all it takes.
Exactly.
And look, and a lot of people will talk to you about...
It's like I hate the Kardashians. You know what? You're just involving yourself in it. You're just making it big.
Well, and he's on Fox Sports 1 now, which Dana and UFC...
Well, no, that's what I was thinking. After they fight, Rashad and him can out-commentate each other. Or they can rehash the fight. And they can actually do it pretty well. I think they're both pretty good at it.
Yes, they are.
Were you a WWF fan growing up? Last thing.
No, I really wasn't.
No?
I like that stuff called football.
You were a football player. How did you get into the UFC? Were you a boxer first? Because
God, no. God, no. Heavens, no. I mean, I have an interesting story. I have boxed professionally.
How did that work out?
Well, see, I went 0-2 as an amateur, and I thought it's time to go pro. And then I went
if it didn't work as an amateur, go pro.
And then I went 0-2 as a professional boxer. That's what. Then I just went to MMA because I was still doing.
Did you get knocked out?
No, but I got beaten up. Yeah.
Does it take
4
more?
times.
Does it take more to be a professional boxer than a UFC fighter?
Well, I mean, I wasn't even like training boxing specific. I was just boxing for money and I was still like wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu the week of my boxing fight. And that's how I justify losing. I wasn't taking it serious. And I suck at boxing. That's how I didn't study for that test. It failed me.
Oh, man. It's great meeting you. Thanks for
man.
A couple minutes, and it's going to be a fun.
No, yeah. I mean, if you want me to leave, I'll leave. I get where you're going. You don't have to tell me twice.
Let's party in Vegas, man.
20th,
we'll see you out the 16th.
We'll see you out in Vegas. 20 years of the UFC. The documentary is November 5th. Fighting for a Generation. 20 years of the UFC, and then the big pay-per-view.
So well.
He's good. He's good. First, let me tell you, he's good.
He's damn near good enough for morning time.
I'm totally right.
Were you quicker before you started getting the punches and the kicks to the head?
Unfortunately, I was. Yeah. But I'm still quicker than you now, so I'm doing all right.
No, you're intelligent. You're more intelligent than me. I can tell by the way you speak. It's just,
but it's kind of like the draw kind of messes you up. You're like, he's kind of smart, but he sounds like he's either drunk or hasn't slept in a month.
Yeah, that takes a couple points off IQ. The southern draw and, little minor slurring.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bad slur.
Forrest, thanks for a couple minutes, man. We appreciate it.
Woo!
You the man.
BJPen.com.